Well, welcome back to the pod. We got another stacked episode for you guys. First breaking news, LeBron James notifies the Lakers that he is not returning to the squad for the 2026 to 2027 season. What trades could we see? One trade we definitely won't see is for Brandon Aiyuk. The Aiyuk Chronicles, the Aiyuk antics continue. We're diving into it all on this episode of the No Shame with Shane podcast. Let's get it! Well, breaking news in the NBA, breaking news really in all of sports. The biggest news in sports, aside from Serena Williams' return to tennis at Wimbledon, LeBron James, he notifies the Lakers that yes, he is continuing his career, but it will not be as a Laker. It will not be in the yellow and purple. He is moving on, testing the free agency open market. And bro, I got it. Like, and according to Shams Charania per ESPN, it seems like the front running teams that are in hot pursuit of LeBron James, arguably the GOAT, are the Golden State Warriors, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Miami Heat. All three teams that LeBron James has a history with, obviously losing to the finals, losing to the Warriors in the finals a couple of times, and then, of course, playing for the Cleveland Cavaliers, playing for the Miami Heat, being one of the greatest, being the greatest Cav to ever play the game, arguably the greatest Heat player to ever play the game. So that is what we are seeing right now. But I got to say, bro, LeBron James is going to the Warriors. He's going to the Warriors. He's not leaving LA to go to Cleveland. He's not leaving LA to go to Miami. Like, his family is in LA. His life is in LA. He's not trying to leave the state of California. LeBron James is going to the Warriors. He's going to the Warriors. Like, we've known this really for really maybe over a month now that he was going to the Warriors. Draymond Green's been recruiting him. I know Steph's been recruiting him on the sly. Like, it's an easy move for him, just a simple flight away from LA where his family's at. Like, LeBron James is going to be a Warrior. He's going to be a Warrior. Like, he's going to team up with Steph. He's going to have a real coach in Steve Kerr, and that trio is going to contend for is going to be a playoff caliber team. It's going to be the core of a playoff caliber team. LeBron James is not going anywhere else other than the Warriors. He's going to the Warriors, bro. Like, it's signed to his liver. Like, bro, LeBron James is going to Golden State to team up with Stephen Curry. And when LeBron James and Stephen Curry team up, they're going to lead their teams to the playoffs. Like, bro, we know out of the Warriors, the Cavs, and the Heat, the three main teams in pursuit of LeBron James right now, LeBron is only realistically going to one of those teams, and it's the Warriors. It's not... I'm not necessarily in favor of that. I would rather see him go to Cleveland, but he's not leaving LA to go to Ohio. He's not leaving LA to go to Miami. Like, he's not leaving LA to move further away from his family. His family's in LA. His life is in LA. LeBron is going to be a Golden State Warrior. He's going to team up with Steph. He's going to get a real head coach in Steve Kerr, and those guys are going to make a playoff run. They're going to make a playoff run. Like, it's that simple. Like, bro, LeBron James and Stephen Curry will be a playoff duo. They'll be a playoff duo. Like LeBron James going to the Warriors, whether you like the move or not, LeBron James and Stephen Curry together will be a playoff caliber duo. Like, those two are leading the Warriors to the playoffs this season. And we know that because, one, we've seen these two guys play together before and dominate and succeed. We saw that in the Olympics this past Olympics, leading Team USA to achieve one of the greatest comebacks in Team USA history. And we know it can work because Bron and Steph both led their teams to the playoffs or borderline playoffs as number one options. Steph carried a injured and bad Warriors team to the play-in, and LeBron, of course, won a playoff series against the Rockets as the number one option without Luka, without Austin Reeves. Like, Stephen Curry carried a terrible Warriors team, an injured Warriors team, no Jimmy, to the play-in, averaging 26 points per game, averaging 4 and 4. LeBron James, he won a playoff series against the Rockets with no Luka, no Austin Reeves, averaging 23 points per game, 8 assists, 7 rebounds. You're like, bro, there's no, like, this is like LeBron James and Stephen Curry, they're making a playoff run if they unite. If LeBron James unites with Stephen Curry in Golden State, they're making a playoff run. They're making a playoff run. Both of these guys were number one options on playoff teams last year. Stephen Curry, he of course dragged the Warriors to the play-in, averaging 23 points per game, averaging 4 and 4. LeBron James, he won a playoff series with no Luka, no Austin Reeves. He was the number one option, averaging 23 points per game, 8 assists and 7 rebounds. Putting these two guys on the same team with a supporting cast of playoff Draymond, Pods, Gary Payton, Yaxel Lendenborg, reigning state champ at Michigan, who looks fantastic coming into the NBA right now as a rookie, Guy Santos, a healthy Kristaps Porzingis, and what would no doubt be an Anthony Davis, because LeBron James isn't going to the Warriors unless they trade for AD. Bro, that is a playoff squad. That's a playoff squad. Like, there's no way if LeBron James goes to the Warriors, there's no way that team does not go on a playoff run this year. There's no way. There's no way. Like, honestly, like, it's definitely a playoff team. But honestly, like, looking at that stipulation, right? Obviously, one of the conditions for LeBron James being willing to sign with the Warriors is if they trade for Anthony Davis, right? Anthony Davis, who is, of course, on the Wizards right now. That's his term. That's his terms and conditions. Even though I wouldn't be surprised if LeBron still signs with the Warriors in spite of AD. I would, just because, I feel like not having AD wouldn't stop LeBron from wanting to play with Steph and be able to seriously compete for a championship while also being close to where home is now for him, which is LA. But like, we know that's the stipulation, is they need to trade for AD. Honestly, looking at it from AD's perspective in all this, like, AD, yes, can contend and can make a playoff run if he is traded to the Warriors, depending on what they give up. But him reuniting with LeBron James and joining Stephen Curry, yes, for sure. He'll have a shot this year. He'll definitely have a shot this year at a playoff run. But I don't think it's crazy to say that Anthony Davis has a similar opportunity in Washington. I don't think it's crazy to say that Anthony Davis does have a shot at making a pretty solid playoff run out of the East in Washington right now. Like, I really don't think that's crazy. Like, best case scenario, like, this Wizards team at its best is a playoff team with AD. This Wizards team at its best is a playoff team with AD. Like, best case scenario, the Wizards at its best means that AJ DeBonta is having a rookie of the year caliber season, really earning that first option role on the squad. Trae Young is your second option, an all-star point guard who has experience being a first option in an Eastern Conference Finals, in an Eastern Conference Finals stage. Alex Sarr, 7-footer, is playing at the very least a third level option, a third option level. And then you have Trey Johnson, the 3-level scorer, Keyshawn George, who can hit his shots. Those two guys are able to fill in the gaps, get to their spots. And honestly, that leaves AD to just play like 40 to 50 games. And if we can really just make it to the playoffs, like, bro, the Wizards at their best case scenario are definitely a playoff caliber team. They're definitely a playoff caliber team. So I don't think it's crazy to say that, yes, AD will of course have a shot at the playoffs, at a potential championship run if he does join LeBron and Steph in Golden State. But I don't think it's crazy to say that he has a similar opportunity in Washington at their very best. At their very best, looking at this roster at their very best. Like, best case scenario, the Wizards at their best are a playoff team. A rookie of the year caliber AJ DeBonta, Trae Young, who has experience being a number one at a high level in the playoffs, having that guy as your second option, a guy who can stretch the floor, a 7-foot Alex Sarr, who at the very least plays at a third option level, who can score from outside and inside. Trey Johnson, who is a 3-level scorer at the 2 guard. Keyshawn George, who can hit his shots. They can fill in the gaps. And really just leaving AD to, when he comes in, being that 1 to 2 option when he's healthy. But even if he can just play 40 to 50 games, make it to the playoffs, and he's there on the court in the playoffs, the Wizards at their best are a playoff team for sure coming out of the East. For sure. The Wizards at their best are a playoff caliber team. Like, if you like, AD on the Wizards still has a playoff opportunity, just like he would in Golden State with Steph and LeBron. Like, Steph and LeBron, obviously it sounds better, but a healthy AD in Washington still has a chance at making a legit playoff run. Because honestly, if you look at both of these starting lineups, right? Obviously, Golden State, you have Steph at the 1, you have Pods at the 2, you have Bron at the 3, AD at the 4, respectively, on both teams, and then you have Kristaps at the 5. Then in Washington, with AD at the 4, you got Trey at the 1, you got Trey Johnson at the 2, you got DeBonsa at the 3, and then you have Alex Sarr at the 5. Honestly, if I'm looking at these two lineups side by side, obviously I'm taking Steph over Trey Young, but I'm taking Trey Johnson over Pods. I'm taking what could be a rookie of the year caliber player in AJ over 42-year-old LeBron James heading into this season. And honestly, I'm taking Alex Sarr over Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is hardly ever healthy. So, I don't think it's crazy to say that AD's playoff chances are not terrible if he stays in Washington. AD honestly might have as good of a chance in the as good of a chance in the playoffs with the Wizards coming out of the East, just as he would with the Warriors coming out of the West. The West, bro, he definitely has as good of a shot making the playoffs, going on a playoff run with the Wizards coming out of the East, just as he would with the Warriors coming out of the West, for sure. I really don't think that's crazy at all. Because think about it. If if AD goes to the Warriors, teams up with LeBron James, Stephen Curry, it's obviously could be a formidable big three with pretty decent role player help, both on the floor with them and coming off the bench. Great coaching in Steve Kerr. But in the West, you also got to worry about the Spurs, the reigning runner-ups. You have to worry about the Thunder, the most talented team in the league. You have to worry about the Nuggets with a playoff Jokic and Jamal Murray. You have to worry about a Timberwolves team now that might have the best backcourt in the entire NBA. You have to worry about let me think here. Maybe Clippers, but you still have competition. You have legitimate threats you have to worry about coming out of the West. The East, if AD stays with the Wizards in the East, you got competition, but I don't think it's as tough as the competition they would see in the West. You got to worry about the Celtics, but they'll most likely be worse if they trade Jaylen Brown. You have to worry about the Heat, I guess, but their floor spacing is at a bare minimum right now, not having really many guys that you have to worry about from long range. You have to worry about the Sixers, but we know Joel Embiid is hardly ever healthy in the playoffs, so that's an easier game. Other than the Knicks, there's not a lot of other teams in the East that you would need to worry about. The Pistons, they're getting ready to lose Jalen Duren. I don't think it's crazy to say that AD has just as good of an opportunity, if not more of an opportunity, to make the playoffs, go on a playoff run, potentially contend staying in Washington, just as he would with the Warriors coming out of the West. I really don't think that's crazy at all. Honestly, bro, AD might have just as big of an opportunity to go on a playoff run AD might have just as big of an opportunity to make the playoffs and go on a run with the Wizards coming out of the East, just as he would with Steph and LeBron on the Warriors coming out of the West. Because, like, obviously, Steph and LeBron, teaming up with Steph and LeBron in Golden State sounds great, right? It sounds great. But there's also legitimate competition that you have to worry about coming out of the West. You got to worry about the reigning runner-ups in the Spurs. You got to worry about the Timberwolves that might have the best backcourt in the NBA right now. You got to worry about a playoff Jokic on a Denver Nuggets team. You have to worry about you have to worry about a potential Trailblazers team right now, the way they look. John Morant, Damian Lillard, Avdia. Like, you have to worry about a really potential Mavericks team going into next year, depending on what they look like. There's legitimate competition coming out of the West. Where you look at the East, like AD on the Wizards, they'll have to worry about a Celtics team that is most likely going to be worse because they're trading Jaylen Brown, most likely. A Pistons team that's going to be worse because they're getting rid of Jalen Duren. A Cavs team that is hardly built for the playoffs with James Harden being their number 2 option. A Sixers team, we know Joel Embiid is never healthy in the playoffs, so that's going to be an easier matchup for them. Like, really, like maybe Miami Heat, but the spacing on that team is very minimal because of the lack of outside perimeter scorers that they have. Like, aside from the Knicks, the Wizards wouldn't have really as much tough competition. Like, AD and the Wizards wouldn't have as much competition coming out of the East as AD would have on the Warriors trying to come out of the West. So I don't think it's crazy to say that Anthony Davis may have as good or possibly a better chance at making the playoffs and going on a playoff run, staying in Washington coming out of the East, as opposed to teaming up with Steph and LeBron and trying to make it out the West. That's all I'm saying. Like, I'm not saying it's necessarily better, but I don't think it's crazy to say that AD could have a promising year playoff-wise if he does stay in Washington. So it's going to be interesting to see, what trades we might see, including Anthony Davis, where LeBron James signs. But someone who is definitely trying to get signed right now is Brandon Aiyuk. The Brandon Aiyuk Chronicles continue. Aiyuk continuing to push his case for the Commanders online, continuing to be confident that the Commanders will be his next team, adamant on being a Commander for the coming season, looking to get revenge against his current team right now in the 49ers. Like, honestly, if Brandon Aiyuk is willing to take a league minimum, the Commanders should sign him. The Commanders should sign Brandon Aiyuk if he's willing to take a league minimum, because honestly, and it's honestly possible that Aiyuk is willing to take the league minimum because he clearly doesn't care about money right now. Like, let's be real. He clearly doesn't care about money right now, leaving hundreds of millions of dollars on the table in San Francisco by, not attending mandatory rehab, not attending workouts and whatnot, all just to not be a 49er. So he clearly doesn't care about money right now. And if he's willing to, and if he wants to be in Washington bad enough to take a pay cut like that, to take the league minimum, if he's willing to be in Washington that bad, the Commanders should sign him. Because talent-wise, there's no negative to signing him. He's only going to make the squad better. So if he's willing to give you a discount with the talent that he brings, assuming that he's still the same guy that he was a couple of seasons ago, the Commanders should sign him. The Commanders should 100% sign him. Like, the Commanders, if Brandon Aiyuk is willing to take the league minimum, the Commanders should definitely sign Brandon Aiyuk. One, because Aiyuk, honestly, signing Aiyuk would give Washington arguably the best receiver duo in the division. Signing Brandon Aiyuk would give the Commanders a top 10 receiver duo in the entire NFL. Signing Aiyuk would give the Commanders a top 6 to 10 receiver trio in the NFL once you also put Dyami Brown at that 3 spot. Signing Aiyuk would reunite Jaden Daniels with his former teammate in Aiyuk. That chemistry could be very helpful in what is going to be a new offense that has a lot of different variables sort of in this unit right now. But re-signing Aiyuk That would also maximize Jaden Daniels going into year 3, who's coming off an injury, looking to make a big splash, looking to show that his rookie year was not a fluke. You know, like talent-wise, signing Aiyuk is a win-win. Like there's no downside talent-wise to signing Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk is only going, like talent-wise, Brandon Aiyuk only makes the team better if he is the same guy. If he's the same guy. Like it's really all positives talent-wise, like especially if he's willing to sign for a league minimum, it's really all positives in terms of the Commanders signing Brandon Aiyuk. The Commanders should definitely sign Brandon Aiyuk if he's willing to sign for a league minimum. Like honestly, if Brandon Aiyuk does sign with the Commanders, he's not going to be a receiver. He's not going to be the receiver one though. Like the Commanders should sign Brandon Aiyuk if he's willing to take league minimum, but Brandon Aiyuk wouldn't just come in and automatically be the receiver one on this squad. He wouldn't be the receiver one. Receiver one would still be Terry McLaurin. Like Aiyuk would come in being the second best receiver on the team. Like Aiyuk is the number one receiver on many other teams in the NFL. Many other teams in the NFL, but not DC. Like Brandon Aiyuk is not a receiver one in DC because Terry McLaurin exists. Terry McLaurin exists. If the Commanders sign Brandon Aiyuk, Aiyuk will be the second best receiver on the squad. He's not coming in and just taking over the receiver one spot. He's not. Like Aiyuk is a number one receiver on many other teams, but not DC. Not DC. Terry McLaurin would still be the number one option on this squad. Like Terry McLaurin is elite. He's elite. Like, bro, there's not many receivers in the league that are more of a potent deep threat than Terry McLaurin is. He's good after the catch. He's a security blanket. He's arguably the best receiver at making contested catches. You look at Brandon Aiyuk, he can be a good security blanket. He's a deep threat. He's good after the catch, but he's not nearly as good as Terry McLaurin is in those 50-50 ball situations. In those 50-50 ball situations, like those gotta have it balls. Like Terry McLaurin would still be the number one option in this offense even if Brandon Aiyuk does sign with the squad. Terry McLaurin would be the number one option. Brandon Aiyuk would be the second best receiver on the squad if he signs with the Commanders. Like if you look at Aiyuk versus Terry, right? Aiyuk versus Terry. Terry McLaurin, other than his rookie year, he has never had less than 1,000 yards on the season, regardless of who his quarterback was. Regardless of who his quarterback was. Now, you could say, well, Terry McLaurin, he was the focus of the offense, that he hasn't had a lot of talent around him. Aiyuk, he's had a lot of talent around him, more guys with the ball. But even with that talent, Aiyuk was still the receiver one. Aiyuk was the most targeted, the favorite receiver of his quarterback in Brock Purdy. So Terry McLaurin over the years has been more of a consistently productive receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. Like the fact that Brandon Aiyuk has shared the field has been in more of a spread offense is not an excuse, because Aiyuk was still the most utilized passing target, was the most utilized target in this offense. Like 3 years with Brock Purdy, this guy in 3 seasons, he had 136 passes come his way, over 2,200 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. Brandon Aiyuk was the receiver one on the 49ers. It wasn't Deebo Samuel. It wasn't George Kittle. It wasn't Jawan Jennings. Receiver one was Brandon Aiyuk. Brandon Aiyuk was the best deep threat on the squad. He was the security blanket on the squad. He was Brock Purdy's go-to guy. He was Brock Purdy's go-to guy. So the excuse that Terry McLaurin was only more productive than Brandon Aiyuk just because, Terry McLaurin was the only playmaker on his offense for most of his time in Washington, before all of his time in Washington, before Jaden Daniels. It's not a valid excuse, because even though Brandon Aiyuk has had more talent surrounding him, helping stretch the field more, he still got targeted more than anyone else on the squad, more than anyone else in that offense. So if you look at Terry McLaurin versus Brandon Aiyuk, Terry McLaurin is the more consistent receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. which is why he would still be the receiver one if Brandon Aiyuk signs with the Commanders. For sure. He would still be the receiver one. Would still be the receiver one. Like, honestly, if I am looking at my top 10 receiver duos in the NFL, like if Brandon Aiyuk, like honestly, if Brandon Aiyuk signs with the Commanders have a top 10 receiver duo in the NFL with Terry McLaurin and Brandon Aiyuk. They have a top 10 receiver duo. Like if I'm ranking my top 10 receiver duos with, Aiyuk signing to the Commanders, at number one, I got Puka and Devontae Adams. You have to after this past year. Number two, I got Chase. I got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Number three, I got CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. Number four, I got Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. Number five, I got to go Jay Jettas and Jordan Addison just because really of Justin Jefferson. And then at six, I got them right there at six. I got Terry McLaurin and Brandon Aiyuk right there at six. Seven, I got A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs. Eight, I got Cortland Sutton and Jalen Waddle. At nine, I got JSN and Rashid Shaheed. And then at 10, I got Chris Godwin and Emeka Egbuka just because of talent, what we've seen from Chris Godwin already, what we saw from Egbuka last year, the flashes we saw from him. Like, if Aiyuk signs with the Commanders have a top 10 receiver duo in the NFL. Easily. Top 10, arguably top five. Arguably top five. But, again, looking at Aiyuk versus Terry McLaurin, like, if Aiyuk signs with the Commanders, Terry McLaurin is still going to be the receiver one on that squad. Because if I'm looking at these two guys side by side, Terry McLaurin has been and is a more consistent receiver than Brandon Aiyuk. You look at Terry McLaurin has never had under 1,000 yards ever in his career other than his rookie year, regardless of all of the quarterbacks that he has had. All of which, other than Jaden Daniels, have been average to below average. Still puts up 1,000 yards on the season. Brandon Aiyuk, he hasn't had that level of consistency in his career. He's had two 1,000 and over 1,000 yard seasons. Only two out of, I believe, 5 or 6 years. Now, you can say, well, Terry McLaurin, he's been the only playmaker in Washington for so long. He's the automatic focus of the offense. That means he gets the ball more. But even Brandon Aiyuk, with as talented of an offense he has played in, he has still been the most utilized receiver, most targeted skill player out of anyone else on that squad. More targeted than Debo, more targeted than George Kittle, more targeted than C-Mac when those guys were playing together. Like, Brandon Aiyuk was Brock Purdy's go-to guy. 3 seasons with Brock Purdy and Brandon Aiyuk. 3 seasons. 136 passes to Brandon Aiyuk. Over 2,200 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns. Brandon Aiyuk was getting the ball, was getting attention in this offense. He was the receiver one in the 49ers offense. It wasn't Debo Samuel. Debo was more of a gadget guy. It wasn't George Kittle. It wasn't Jawan Jennings. You could say Christian McCaffrey was probably the most important player in that offense because he was also a receiver and a running back. But the receiver one on the squad was Brandon Aiyuk. With all the targets that Brandon Aiyuk has gotten during his time with Brock Purdy, he still wasn't as consistent of a receiver as Terry McLaurin. His numbers did get better with Brock Purdy than they were without Brock Purdy. But Terry McLaurin still has more consistency throughout his entire career than Brandon Aiyuk. So Terry McLaurin would still be the receiver one on the squad if Aiyuk does sign with the Commanders. Now, looking at Aiyuk and Terry McLaurin, that potential duo that we could see in Washington, if somehow Aiyuk does sign with the Commanders after whatever happens with the 49ers, the Commanders with Brandon Aiyuk could potentially have the best receiver duo in the division this season. Like, you look at the Eagles, there's no A.J. Brown there anymore. Yes, Devontae Smith is a bona fide one, but obviously Mekhi Lemon is proven being a rookie. You look at the Cowboys, super talented duo in CeeDee Lamb and GP. GP was a monster this season, is a monster in general, but CeeDee Lamb, he was wildly inconsistent in some of the biggest moments of the season this year. Like CeeDee Lamb honestly folded on several different occasions throughout this season, especially against us, against the Eagles. several dropped balls that were game-defining, game-changing moments. CeeDee Lamb had multiple moments this season where he folded under pressure. If Terry McLaurin and Brandon Aiyuk have proved anything, it's that they're clutch. It's that they're clutch. And then, of course, you look at the Giants. Obviously, Malik Neighbors coming off an ACL tear, coming off ACL surgery. And then Darius Slayton, the receiver, too. He's not on Terry McLaurin or Brandon Aiyuk's level. So the Commanders with Brandon Aiyuk could potentially have the best receiver duo in the division this year. Like, if Aiyuk is the same Aiyuk he was in 2023, 2024, 2022, the Commanders could have potentially the best receiver duo in the division this year for sure. But if Brandon Aiyuk wants a bag, like if Brandon Aiyuk isn't willing to take the league minimum and he wants a bag from the Commanders, he's not worth it. The Commanders shouldn't sign Aiyuk if Aiyuk is trying to get paid, because he's not worth it right now. Like, honestly, because one, Brandon Aiyuk right now needs the Commanders more than the Commanders needs Aiyuk. Because you look at the Commanders to me are a contender on paper right now. Whereas Aiyuk, he might get blacklisted. Like, if the Commanders don't sign Aiyuk, Aiyuk may not play professional football this season. like the Commanders are really Aiyuk's last hope at this point. So Aiyuk definitely needs the Commanders more than the Commanders need Aiyuk. Like, for sure. Because honestly, like, when you take into account the time he's missed, the distraction that he is being to his current team in the 49ers, you slap money on top of that? Like, bro, a distraction is one thing, but an expensive distraction, that's totally different. So if Brandon Aiyuk is trying to get paid, he is not worth the Commanders' time right now. Not worth the Commanders' time at all. Like, honestly, Brandon Aiyuk Brandon Aiyuk right now makes any GM that is willing to give him a chance look questionable. Like, honestly, a GM would be putting his job on the line right now if they sign Brandon Aiyuk for above league minimum. For above league minimum. Because honestly, like, if you can do this to your team, what you're doing right now, berating them on social media, really like trying to force your way out, pledging loyalty to another team that you haven't even signed with yet. If he can do this to the 49ers, you got to think he can do it to you too. Like, it's one thing to take that risk if you're taking that risk for cheap. But taking that risk for some actual change, that's a totally different situation. Like, if Adam Peters signs Brandon Aiyuk over league minimum and Aiyuk ends up pulling with the Commanders what he's pulling now with the 49ers, Adam Peters is out of a job. Adam Peters is honestly out of a job. Like, because honestly, you put Aiyuk in a position where you allowed his antics to waste a year of Jaden Daniels under his rookie contract. Like, you allow, like, Adam Peters signing Brandon Aiyuk for over league minimum. Not only taking the risk, but taking that risk at an expensive rate. Adam Peters could lose his job because, honestly, you allowing Brandon Aiyuk's antics to distract the team, it really wastes a year of this squad while Jaden Daniels is still under his rookie contract. Like, with Jaden Daniels playing the way that we have seen him play at a high level while still under a rookie deal, now is the time to capitalize. Now is the time to do all that you can to win now. Get all the pieces that you can. Surround Jaden Daniels with all the weapons you can afford to try to make another push to the Super Bowl. You guys, like, the Commanders were this close 2 years ago. Adam Peters bringing Aiyuk into this situation where now Aiyuk derails this train, the momentum that the Commanders have built this offseason, and wastes a year of Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. That's a fireable offense on Adam Peters. That's a fireable offense. So honestly, Aiyuk isn't doing himself any favors. He's not only not doing himself any favors, but he's also making any GM that is even thinking about giving him a chance, like Adam Peters, he's honestly making them look questionable. So, like, honestly, if Brandon Aiyuk is looking to get a bag from the Commanders, he is not worth signing at all. And I know, like, and obviously with Jaden Daniels and him being boys, Jaden Daniels should not be advocating for Brandon Aiyuk right now. If like, honestly, if Brandon Aiyuk wants over the league minimum, Jaden Daniels should not be advocating for his boy right now. Jaden Daniels, as his boy, should not be advocating for the Commanders to pay Brandon Aiyuk if he wants more, if he wants above the league minimum. Because honestly, like, you got to think, like, you got to think his mom is telling him that too. Like, you got to think Mama Daniels is giving him that same advice. Like, any good business manager is going to give that advice. Any good parent would give that advice. And seems like Mama Daniels is both. Mama Daniels is both. Like, I know she gets criticism for being as involved in his career as she is, but clearly she's doing something right. Clearly she's doing something right. I would not be surprised if Mama Daniels is telling JD5 to, hey, don't put your reputation on the line for your boy who is wilding out on social media right now. And honestly, like, that's real advice, because you can't put your reputation on the line for everybody. You just can't. Like, you can't always, like, sometimes you just gotta shut up, mind your business, and let the chips fall where they fall. You can't afford to put your reputation on the line for everybody. Like, you can't always defend Ricky. You can't always bring Jim Bob to the job interview with you. Because now that, honestly, if something goes wrong on their end, that hurts your own credibility. Like, honestly, like, if Jaden Daniels advocates for the Commanders to pay BA and he comes in and ends up doing what he is doing to the 49ers, he comes in being a distraction, and not only a distraction, but not also bringing the production to kind of help make up for that, Jaden Daniels would lose trust with the front office. Jaden Daniels would lose trust with the front office, and they would have that in the back of their minds whenever Jaden Daniels wants to weigh in on another offseason move that he thinks could help the team win. So Jaden Daniels, honestly, if BA wants above the league minimum, it would not be smart for Jaden Daniels to advocate for his boy. And I know it's hard sometimes because we want to advocate for our friends, but bro, it's honestly in Jaden Daniels' best interest and for his future to not advocate for BA if Brandon Aiyuk is looking to make a bag and looking to get above league minimum to be a Commander. But that's all we got for today's edition of No Shame with Shane. If you haven't already, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media platforms, and I'll be back later on with more shameless takes.